All right, today we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most powerful and honestly one of the most misunderstood forces in the global economy, tax havens. And the whole story really starts with a number that's, well, it's almost too big to even wrap your head around.
Take a look at this. $5.1 trillion. That's the best estimate we have for the total amount of money just parked in tax havens all across the globe. It's an absolutely staggering figure, almost impossible to imagine.
And that, of course, brings up a couple of huge questions, right? Where in the world is all this money? And how on earth did a system like this, a system that lets so much wealth just vanish from public view, even come into being? To really understand how people get out of paying taxes, we first have to talk about why we pay them at all.
So let's start with Section 1, the social contract of tax. Because before you can understand tax avoidance, you got to understand the fundamental deal that's behind taxes in the first place.
It's this idea called the fiscal social contract. And the core of it is pretty simple, really. We, as citizens, we agree to give a chunk of our money to the government. And what do we get in return? The government provides all the essential services and infrastructure that make a modern, civilized society actually work. It's a deal. It's a trade-off.
So what does that trade-off actually get us? Well, our tax dollars fund things we probably take for granted every single day. Things like Social Security, big health programs like Medicare, our national defense, benefits for veterans, and hey, even the roads we drive on. It's the financial engine that keeps our whole society running.
U.S. Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. nailed it more than 100 years ago. He said, "Taxes are what we pay for civilized society." This idea is the bedrock of the modern state. So, what happens when someone finds a way to just opt out of that contract?
And that brings us to Section 2, an accidental loophole. This is where the story gets really wild, because the origins of this whole system, they go way further back than you'd probably think, all the way back to the 19th century.
Now, here's what's so fascinating. The common assumption, what most of us probably think, is that tax havens must have been invented specifically to dodge the high income taxes of the 20th century. But that's not what happened. The reality is, all the key ingredients for tax havens were already in place before high taxes were even a thing. This wasn't some grand design. It was basically an accident.
The key to this whole thing, the concept that makes it all possible, is something called juridical residence. It's basically a legal magic trick. It lets a company set up its official home in one country, say a tiny island with zero corporate tax, even though all of its actual business, its real operations, are happening somewhere else entirely. It's a very powerful legal fiction.
And this just shows you how all the pieces kind of fell into place over time. I mean, these events were completely unrelated. You had Monaco getting rid of direct taxes to lure in rich people, paying for it all with its casino. Then you had U.S. states like Delaware competing with each other to sell easy for-export company setups. The Swiss were perfecting bank secrecy. And then, the real kicker, a British court case in 1929 that officially said a company's registration and its tax home could be in two different places. Nobody planned this, but together, these events created the tax haven toolkit.
Which leads us to Section 3, the Great Proliferation. Let's look at how that accidental little loophole absolutely exploded into a global industry in the 20th century.
Just look at this chart. Before World War I, taxes as a slice of the economy were pretty low. But two absolutely devastating world wars changed everything. Governments needed unbelievable amounts of money to fight the wars and then rebuild, and that led to a massive spike in taxes that, well, it never really came back down.
And with those soaring tax rates came this powerful new incentive, a huge demand for financial shelter. All of a sudden, that weird, accidental system of juridical residence and bank secrecy, it wasn't just some legal curiosity anymore. It was a priceless escape route for anyone looking to hang on to their wealth.
This really created the perfect storm. You had massive demand for tax shelters. The legal tools were already there, just waiting, and then a bunch of small countries had a light bulb moment. They realized their own sovereignty, the right to write their own laws, was a product they could actually sell. So they started competing with each other, writing laws to offer the lowest taxes and the most secrecy. And that created the worldwide network of over 70 tax havens we have today.
So all of this leads to a really fundamental argument we're still having today. Are tax havens just healthy competition, or are these places selling off the very idea of what a country is supposed to be? There are really two very different ways to look at this. On one side, you have people who argue it's healthy tax competition. They say it's a good thing, that it keeps big governments from imposing crazy high, harmful tax rates and actually encourages global investment. But on the other side of the coin, you have critics who call it commercialized sovereignty. Their argument is that these places are abusing the system, basically selling their lawmaking power like it's a parking space for foreign money, and in doing so, they're undermining that whole fiscal social contract for everyone else.
But, the real picture is a little more complicated. Some data, for instance from the Cato Institute, suggests that this idea of a massive race to the bottom where every single corporation is running to a tax haven might be a bit of an exaggeration. Turns out, fewer than half of U.S. multinationals even have a branch in a tax haven, and a pretty small percentage of total profits are reported there. So it definitely adds some important nuance to the debate.
So, to wrap it all up, what started out as a series of historical accidents, a weird legal quirk from the 19th century, has ballooned into a multi-trillion-dollar feature of our modern world. And it's a system that really forces us to ask some fundamental questions about fairness, about competition, and about what it even means to be a country today. And that leaves us with one final, and I think critical, question to chew on. In a globalized world where money can move across borders in the blink of an eye, what is national sovereignty really for? Is it a sacred principle? Or has it just become another product for sale on the open market? It's a debate that gets right to the very heart of our global economy. Thanks for tuning in.